In the early days of flight, aircraft had open cockpits in which the pilot was exposed to the elements. This was not a problem during low-speed, low-altitude flights as seen with biplanes, but as speeds increased and so did altitudes, the need for protection from natural hazards became a more prominent concern. The Airco DH-9A was an open cockpit biplane that was later modified in 1921 to have a prototype version of an enclosed pressurized cockpit. A pressurized cockpit is an enclosed cabin in which the crew of the airplane or spacecraft is protected from the external environment, especially when the exterior pressures are lower than one might be exposed to at sea level or during everyday life. The engines of an aircraft heat and pressurize the air. Some of this air is used as bleed air and de-ices the wing, while some is used for pneumatic functions. The remaining air is cooled and then used for cabin pressurization.
Even though early prototypes such as the Airco existed, most aircraft continued to have unpressurized cockpits. During World War II, aircraft would engage in combat maneuvers, flight paths, and varying missions that would require the pilot to fly at extreme altitudes and adverse conditions. In addition to environmental hazards, pilots were often exposed to gunfire, oil, and other debris as a result of damage sustained to either their own or opposing aircraft. All of these factors necessitated the use and development of oxygen masks for the pilots to wear. Early breathing apparatuses were comprised of pressurized oxygen tanks and simple rubber hoses, but later masks provided protection to the pilot's face and were fitted for a better seal. In 1932, the German company Junkers created a second working plane to have a pressurized cockpit. This aircraft featured large amounts of space to accommodate passengers. The American aviation company Lockheed led pressurized cabin innovation in America when in 1935 they designed and created the XC-35. This aircraft featured a fully pressurized cabin, again large enough to allow more than just a pilot. All of the plane's openings were sealed, and its fuselage was reinforced to withstand the pressure. As the need for higher and larger altitude bombers increased during World War II, it was necessary to design pressurized cabins large enough for an entire bomber crew due to the inconvenience of being tethered via an oxygen mask. The first of these was the B-29 Superfortress, designed to be mass-produced. The B-29 was used massively at the end of the war, and pioneered the way for the mass production of aircraft with pressurized cabins. It soon became standard to have pressurized cockpits in modern fighter jets, such as the F-4 Phantom used in Vietnam. Often these cockpits would be used in combination with oxygen masks in case the cabin were to lose pressure.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Liftoff. All right, liftoff, and the clock is starting.
Pressurized cockpits were the basis for NASA's manned capsules to be sent into space. This was of utmost importance for spacecraft because of the extreme lack of pressure that would be encountered outside of our atmosphere. Eventually, the pressurization was adapted to a personal level. This technology is commonly referred to as a spacesuit. This would allow extravehicular activities, EVAs, or spacewalks, where astronauts could exit their craft unharmed by the lack of pressure in a vacuum and the other hostilities of space.
Those magnificent men in their flying machines, they go up to the up, they go down.